cut the past couple of weeks that you said you were bringing back this week. I'm curious just, how that went this week and how did players kind of respond to, to you reintroducing it?
Well, it went well. I only cut one period out of it, the which was the team period. We still did good on good team run the last few weeks. We just had cut one of the periods, which is our last period of the day is typically a team good on good period. Normally we'll do a team run, we'll do a 7-on-7, which helps us, and those we had kept going. But I do think the team period, brings it all together. Whereas team run is focused on the run, the 7-on-7 is focused on the pass, and then we usually bring it together to do it all in a team period at the end of practice. We've instituted it back this week because we've had 2 days off. When you have the schedule that we had, obviously with 13 straight days without a day off, because Sunday's typically the day off, and when you play on a Friday, we move everything up a day. And coming out of training camp, our bye week is in a few weeks, so we are, we definitely pay close attention to the player loads. We pay close attention to all the analytics and all the data that we get every day in practice. And to me, I think the compliment is when you see how fast we play on game day. I would say we are a fast team, and a lot of it's due to how we try to practice and ensure that our players are at an optimal level of conditioning and speed on game day. So we did implement the team good on good periods back. So far, so good, but you know what? We'll know a lot better Monday or Saturday in the first quarter there.
We'll go to George.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
George, what's up?
Not much, not much. Wanted to ask about environment. You talked a lot about the students and whatnot in Michigan State, but by my count, this is the only grass field you're going to play on in the regular season this year, and it's something that's becoming fewer and far between. You only had one game last year on the road at Penn State that was on grass, and I know you guys practice on grass and play on the field turf, but with a lot of talk, especially in the pros, about injuries and how maybe grass is a better thing for players going forward. I wonder if you notice anything different about in terms of how your team acts and responds in relation to each surface. Do you look better on grass than you do on turf, or it's just kind of you can adjust for either environment because you have both there that you can practice and play on?
Yeah, we practice on both each week. Our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday practices are on grass. Our Thursday practice is on turf inside the Jones Hill House indoor facility. So I can't say one way or the other the effects that it has. I do know, because of the speed we recruit and how we try to condition and develop our players, that, depending on how high the grass is, I know a year ago I thought that, the grass was a little high or higher than expected. Those things sometimes have an effect, but it's not something that we've spent a lot of time discussing. Just got to make sure that from an equipment standpoint, if it's wet out or if it's a high surface of grass, that we go with the long studded cleats, which Drew Hampton, our equipment guy, is the best in the business. And he usually has our guys prepared to be able to perform on whatever surface that we end up playing on.
We'll go to Varun.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Hey, Varun, good to see you as always.
Wanted to ask about when you talked about the 13 straight days that you had. When you have that kind of uninterrupted stretch, where do you see the fatigue showing up for players? Like, where does it manifest for them?
Where? Like, give me an example of where.
Like, do you see it in like specific drills? Do you see it in the way they conduct themselves? Like, where do you first see that show up? Like, what's your first warning sign of like, oh, these guys are dragging a little bit?
I mean, just by watching how we practice. Like, I'm confused when you said.
What do you see in practice that tells you that? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, we have the data. We know how many full speed yardage, how much high volume. Like we wear the GPSs in the back. And so when we study our GPSs from a week ago to a year ago, game 4, we usually put the data together. We correlate it and see where it was different. If we see a guy is not hitting the high speed yardage in a daily practice that we normally have, those are all signs of fatigue. So
and then I wanted to continue, please. And then I want to ask about the O line. You got Gotti back for the first time. You got to see him in the game. What did you think, and what did you think about that overall unit as you guys continue through the season?
I thought we were good, not great. We gave up some pressures. Fortunately for us, our quarterback has the ability to be elusive in the pocket, and you know, had he not been an athletic guy, could have been more trouble for us. It wasn't necessarily scheme related as much as it was fundamentally and some technical things that we had to get corrected. And again, we're continuing to try to put the best five out there, and you know, we'll continue to evaluate that position. But I thought they were good, not great.
Thank you.
Yep.
Go to Ahmed.
I had the O-line question, so we can go to Taylor. It's all good.
Okay. Taylor.
Coach, with Jason Barham, you know, we know how good he is rushing the passer, but in terms of dropping back into coverage, you know, that aspect of playing linebacker, where have you seen him kind of take the most strides recently, and where do you still, you know, looking to get more out of him there?
You know, we're a zone coverage team. You know, we do play some man, but typically when we're playing man, he's a rusher. So as far as his ability to drop in coverage, I mean, I haven't seen there be any deficiencies. You know, the deficiencies usually show up in man coverage. He's one of those guys that every now and then he ends up on a back or maybe a tight end, but because of his ability to rush the passer, you know, we usually are blitzing Jay-Sean. So, you know, to me, I've seen him, the understanding of knowledge of where he wants to be or where he needs to be in relation to our coverage scheme. He has a great understanding of it. You know, the inside linebackers here are like the quarterbacks of the defense. They make the calls, the checks, the adjustments, along with the safeties. And, you know, I've seen him take that role and continue to get better and better with it, with the experience he's gained.
Does anyone have anything else? Varun?
Coach, I wanted to go back to something you were talking about Talia as far as him being great at evading pressure. He's been really great at that this year, like even more than previous seasons. Has he done anything different that you're seeing as far as his movement inside or outside the pocket to get away from pressure?
No, I mean, he's always showed this ability. I mean, I'd say we're protecting him a little bit better to where now when if something breaks down, there's not two or three guys to where they've had him contained, you know, where he's dangerous is outside the pocket. I think the most dangerous Talia is if we get firm A and B gaps and we get the rush outside to where, you know, because he is a 5'10" and a 5'11", maybe a 6-foot quarterback, that vision is really important in the pocket. And so when we're firm in the A and B gaps and we get the rush outside up the field, that's where it usually hurts you. But I've also seen now that, you know, some teams, as we call it, like to break the pocket where they force him out in one direction. And that's where he's been really good this year, because when he leaves, he's just not, as I call, rat trapping. He's leaving with a purpose. And, you know, we've done a pretty good job in the scramble drills, and he's been finding guys open when we've needed them to as he's extended plays.
What do you mean by rat trapping?
Where he runs around like a chicken with his head cut off. How about I use that for you?
And then how do you balance letting him kind of get outside the pocket and extend plays with also not wanting him to take you know, too many hits this season? I know that's something you guys have talked about with him extensively.
Oh, you can take hits in the pocket and outside. The key to that is knowing when to say when. And I think he's displayed a better understanding of that the last few games, where he's thrown it away, he's given up on a play. You know, I think we had maybe one poor decision a couple of weeks ago where he got sacked out of the red area. Those are the plays we keep trying to eliminate with him. But, you know, I have no problem. I don't want to ever take away his ability that when he leaves the pocket, his ability to you know, improvise outside the pocket and extend things gives defenses fits. And so we've not tried to tell him to stay in the pocket as much as when outside the pocket and he's not protected, get out of bounds, throw it away, get down quickly to not have to continue to take those extra hits.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
We'll go to Judith.
Yeah, I had a question about, I guess, was there kind of a kicking competition over the summer for who would replace Chad Ryland? And like, if so, like, how did that go, or was that figured out?
There wasn't much of a kicking competition. Jack Howes has been our #2 kicker. We did bring in a guy through the transfer portal, but it's Jack's job. We knew coming out of the spring. So there really was no kicking competition. Our punter was a returning guy. Obviously, Jack was the #2 behind Chad a year ago. Going through spring, we saw what Jack was capable of. It's been great to see him take over the kickoff duties, as well as the consistency of kicking it out of the end zone. So not necessarily that we have a kicking competition this summer.
Okay, I wasn't sure about if that was decided, but was there one even in the spring, or was it just kind of for wasn't covering the team then? So
we've had we had Jack and we had Chad a year ago. Jack, we knew coming in, he was a recruited walk-on for us, a guy that we actually recruited. He didn't just show up here. So we kind of knew what we had, and we're very fortunate that he had a chance to redshirt behind an NFL kicker and has kind of shown him the way. So, but no, not necessarily a kicking competition even in the spring, because he was predominantly the one guy we had here for the most part.
Is everyone good?